Are you ready to get the hydrofacial glow? Loved in 87 countries across the world. It's not a facial, it's a hydrofacial. Now available across the UK. Visit hydrofacial.co.uk to find your nearest location.
When you're going online, you might think you're getting special bargains, but really, you're probably buying 3 or 4. You suddenly go, oh, I'll actually get some duvet sets. I'll buy that for Christmas. And then you forget you've got it when it's been delivered and it's still in its box. Whereas if you actually go shopping, you might go with a friend and sort of have that buddy shopping when you go, actually, should I wear this dress? And they say, no, that color doesn't suit you, but this one does. Shopping with friends is a much better way of doing it. Solitary, when you're on your phone scrolling through Instagram and suddenly go, oh, I want that dress, and it doesn't suit you or fit you.
So ultimately it might save you a bit of money. You're not just doing bulk buying, clicking to feel good. You're actually making that choice that's personal to you.
Hey,
hi darlings, how is everybody?
Okay, how are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Harriet.
Yes.
What's the matter with Dee? She looks weird.
I think she's got sunglasses on because she's doing a very important gig to do with her singing, and I think she thinks it's more theatrical. I don't know.
I think that she had a heavy night last night.
Maybe both.
Yes.
Hi, Dee. Hey, Dee.
My ears are burning. And my eyes are burning too. Because, no, nothing as glamorous as that, girls. I actually have got an eye infection. And also, yes, I'm actually, I want to be alone.
Okay.
Yes, I want to be alone. Yes.
You can always rely on Harriet to be sympathetic.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Compassionate. Yeah.
Compassionate.
Yes. But I am looking forward to the gig, and I think I'm going to have to wear the glasses at the gig, but it doesn't matter because it's an amazing late night, dark.
Darling, tell us where it is and when it is.
It is on Thursday evening, starts at 9 o'clock, and it goes right into the early hours.
Yes, where?
And it's in Soho, Jazz the Dark, it's called. And it's where Amy Winehouse made her big sort of debut, and she's very famous. She was very famous.
What's the venue called?
Jazz After Dark.
And what road is it in?
Greek Street.
Greek Street, absolutely. Thank you. Greek Street. And
that's very exciting.
And it was actually, I got the gig through Debbie, of course, and Lewis McLeod, who goes there all the time. And it's just got the best atmosphere in the world. It's an amazing place. I'm so looking forward to it. So I should be wearing the dark glasses, darling.
Well, you might have to put lashes on outside the dark glasses, darling.
That's a very, very good idea, Harriet.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. You look like Daisy the cow in a pantomime or something.
But there we go. That's a new fashion trend, darling. Very good.
Actually, speaking of pantos, Harriet, where is your panto this year?
Stafford.
Stafford? Well,
yeah.
Sorry. I know my geography is terrible. Where is Stafford?
Okay, darling, it's in between. I know you don't leave London, but it's in between. I know you're from the north and you barely go back, but it's in between Birmingham and Stoke-on-Trent. Glorious Stafford. And I shall be there for the first time being a fairy godmother as opposed to an evil, wicked.
Ooh. And that will be obviously very hard for you.
It's a big departure for me, Debbie. Yeah.
Yes.
Enough about me and my panto. What have you been filming?
Well, I've been filming my series Immigration, and they were filming in London because we've been filming in Poland, and now we've been filming in London. And I realised as we were filming in Museum Street and all round that sort of part of London, sort of Fitzrovia, where that's what it's called, I realised that I'd never filmed in the West End before, and it was really very, very strange. Because it was all of these people were around us, loads and loads of people just watching. What are you doing? But it was very, very strange. And I thought, in my whole career, I've never filmed in the West End. And then it was so funny because the Polish director said to me, "Isn't it funny that it takes a Polish film to bring you to film in your own city?" And I said, "Yeah, isn't that weird?"
Hysterical. That's hysterical. So funny.
When we normally do films that are supposed to be in London, they take us out.
Of course they do.
They never do it in town. So
or it's in a studio or something.
Yeah, but it's never in London, and it was just the weirdest thing to film in London. The Polish crew. It's very interesting because the vans, you know, like the makeup van and everything else, had to be parked in certain roads. And of course, they were following their maps from the set. And for some weird reason, like Google Maps, they're walking miles to go down the road. Just shows you those maps are not really right, because they were saying, oh, it takes hours to get to the wardrobe. And I said, no, it's just there. And they said, look. And Google Maps sent them right round there, like 15 minutes later. And I said,
but maybe they're looking at, but the problem with that is because they're looking at Google Maps as in driving. But if you do the walking, then it wouldn't take you that way.
No, I know, that's what I said to them. But actually, they had
it was walking.
So it was weird.
Great. Anyway, moving on. Enough with all of our joyous, rapturous work. Who is coming in to visit us today?
We have the gorgeous, very handsome, actually, Nick Ede, who was once voted, wasn't he, Dee, the Simon Cowell of fashion?
Of fashion, yes. I'm going to ask him why he was voted.
Well, I'm sure he will inform us. So here we are. Here he is. The lovely and very handsome Nick Ede. Hello, darling.
Hello, how are you both?
Well, the thing
Three
is,
of you.
well, the three of us. Dee is wearing her sunglasses.
I love that.
We love that. Obviously, to see you, because she was, you know, so overwhelmed that you were coming on.
Yes,
But having not seen you for ages, I saw you the other night.
I know, you were propping up the bar big time. You and Debbie McGee. I couldn't keep you away from that champagne.
No.
Darling, that's a departure for you. That's interesting.
And no, it's because we were propping up the bar because we couldn't stand, because our dresses were so tight.
Well, you looked fabulous. You're the most glamorous pair there. It was such a great night, wasn't it?
It was so much fun. It's so lovely to see you, Nick. I mean, we've known each other for 1,007 years, is it, or 1,008?
I think it's 1,008 now, Debbie, but we look still fabulous. How do we do it?
God only
How
knows.
do you?
Where are you, darling? Nick?
I am in Ibiza.
Sorry.
Ibiza, the most beautiful place. And I went to the closing party for Ocean Beach there last night, which was fabulous.
Oh my giddy aunt.
Tony DJ'd. Wayne Lineker is still alive and still, you know, doing his thing, dancing with everybody. And I'm here because I'm producing a new television show in Ibiza, which comes out in next year, which is all about a special hotel here, and it's all behind the scenes. So I need to get you girls to check in and come on the show.
Oh, but we would
love to.
Gosh, that would be amazing.
Yes, dear. As soon as possible, please.
Yes, please. We love hotels.
Fabulous. Well, Dee, I'm going to get your tickets now. Harriet, I'm going to make sure we get some factor 50 for you. And maybe, you know, we know what Debbie's like. All we need to do is have a really good stocked bar.
There we go.
And Dee, and what would Dee like? Dee just wants the sunshine, don't you, darling?
Well, she's got the glasses on already, so it's perfect.
Everything.
It's good to go.
So Nick, what would you like to talk to us about today? What is the latest thing, apart from your TV series, that you're doing?
The latest thing, I am hosting a show with Andrea McLean for Hello Magazine. It's called Hello Hits. And every month we go to different destinations up and down the country, and we talk about all the great things you can buy, because everybody's buying online. And I think it's taken the sort of joy out of shopping and retail. And when you go to shopping centres, you actually have a really great experience. So we're trying to get people to hit the high street and actually touch clothes and buy things that aren't just a click away.
Right.
How are you finding it with the difficult time that we're having at the moment? Because people's ability to go and buy, you're so right, it's so wonderful to do it in person, but how is that affecting everything?
I think the thing is that, Harriet, if people go to a store and they pick up, or they go through different clothes, or whether it's shoes or whether it's an item, they haven't got that kind of quick fix that they get when they're going online. So actually, when you're going online, you might think you're getting special bargains, but really you're probably buying 3 or 4. You suddenly go, oh, I'll actually get some duvet sets. I'll buy that for Christmas. And then you forget you've got it when it's been delivered and it's still in its box. Whereas if you actually go shopping, you might go with a friend and sort of have that buddy shopping when you go, actually, should I wear this dress? And they say, no, that color doesn't suit you, but this one does. And you invest maybe more time and energy. And I really think that shopping with friends is a much better way of doing it solitary, when you're on your phone scrolling through Instagram and suddenly go, oh, I want that dress, and it doesn't suit you or fit you.
So ultimately it might save you a bit of money. You're not just doing bulk buying,
clicking
to feel good. You're actually making that choice that's personal to you. You're so right. That's fascinating.
Yeah, but I'm intrigued as to why you were called the Simon Cowell of fashion?
Well, I was called the Simon Cowell of fashion because I used to be a judge on the show Project Runway in the UK, and then I went to do the American version. And I was in those days, it was very easy for us to say quite, cutting remarks, which we all know are really funny. Now, probably I'd be completely chastised for what I was saying, telling people they look like a Christmas cracker or, things like that. But, they were pretty harmless put downs. But I think, fashion is one of those things which is very subjective to yourself, but also you can be objective and say, actually, you aren't best dressed and you need to have a help of a stylist. And actually some of the stylists who put these Hollywood stars in dresses on the red carpet, some of them you think they need a bit of help too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some people look so bizarre, and I can't really, and it's nothing to do with money, is it? It's not about how rich you are ever. It's about how classy you are. And some of the Hollywood stars, what do they think they're wearing? They are bizarre, and they pay fortunes.
So a lot of it, if you think about it, they're all on a red carpet. There's probably 20 celebrities coming to an event, and they're probably sitting there going, how do I grab the headlines from the person who's walking before me? So they use fashion as if they can't be interviewed, they're using fashion as a way of grabbing the headlines. And some of them look fantastic, but then you get some of them who just really look absolutely dreadful, but they get on the front page of a newspaper, or the Daily Mail Online picks it up and talks about them. And maybe they love that talkability. But I think, as you say, Debbie, money can't buy you class.
No, exactly, which is why we haven't got any money.
So Nick, are you very honest? If say, for instance, if I went shopping with you, would you say to me, no, do you look terrible in that? Well, this is what you should wear. Definitely,
because I think it's, you've got to be quite brutal, but if you are helping somebody out, you're there, it's like if you're paying a doctor or, to give you your prescription because they know it's going to make you better. And the same thing in fashion. In the end, it's about saying, look, you look fantastic, you've got a great body, but this fits your body shape. And a lot of our friends and family want to make sure they're pleasing you. So they might not necessarily actually tell you the truth, but, I'll come and say, actually, no, Dee, it doesn't look good on you. It looked much better on Harriet, but this will look fabulous on you.
Yes. Oh, lovely. I want to go shopping with you, please.
So I'll take you all shopping. I can't wait.
Thank you.
But the thing is, who's going to pay for it?
Well, I was just going to say, darling, are you offering to pay? Yes.
We'll get a sponsor.
Okay. Yes, we will.
To do that. And then I'm going to do a lot of stuff. I've got my own charity, which is called Style for Stroke, which is to raise awareness about stroke. My mum passed away when I was 23 in front of me on the same day as Princess Diana died of a stroke. And the world was sad, but I didn't know. I'd never been educated. And I think still, 25 years later, we are not educated about stroke. We know about cancers, we know about HIV, we know about COVID, but stroke is still seen to be something that people just don't talk about. And
I think it's very recently, my ex-partner, who I'm still very friendly with, he was having treatment for leukemia and myeloma. And he was behaving very strangely. He'd have the treatment and then he'd suddenly fall over and they said, oh, it's just the treatment. Anyway, I'd seen him during the day and I went home and I couldn't get hold of him the next morning. And then I got his neighbour to go around and look, and they looked through the letterbox and he was on the floor and he'd had a stroke that night. So he'd been on the floor for 12, 18 hours and they got him up and he was completely, he was crying. I suppose he was so frightened. And the other thing is he could talk, but sort of just sporadically. He knew what he could say, sort of yes, no. He could not move. He could not move anything. So eventually got him into the ambulance, rushed him to hospital. And now that was on April the 26th. Now we are, where are we? October, and he's still in stroke rehab. He was in hospital for 12 weeks, and then they moved him stroke rehab. He had no swallow, he had nothing, and he's only 55.
Yeah, and stroke.
It is extraordinary. My mother had a stroke in her 60s, and ultimately lived until she was 89. But it was exactly the same. She came into my father straight away and couldn't speak. He immediately was able to take her straight to hospital, and because of that survived, because of the type of stroke it was. And I think the trauma that you must have gone through at 23, and as you say now, there's commercials on the television and the stuff to and your charity to inform us and give us the choice so we know what to do.
Yeah.
And we also recognize it if something's not right, or it's a small stroke or a mini stroke. At least we are beginning to get the knowledge thanks to you and your charity.
Oh, thank you. And I think, at the NTAs that we were at, Debbie, Mark Charnock won the award for Best Actor.
For the stroke.
And for having a stroke. So the use of a soap opera to go to millions of people's houses and to give them that information and show that actually a relatively young man can have a stroke, the way he, is brilliant. And it'd be interesting to see what you guys think is that I've been talking to Emilia Clarke, the actress who was in Game of Thrones. She had an aneurysm, and she talks about it and calls it brain injury. And actually,
that's what they call it now.
Better now, because stroke is actually what we do to a dog. We stroke hair, whereas brain injury, you suddenly go, okay, well, it's an injury, so it must be bad. Yes. And I think that's a better way of now sort of expressing it.
And you're so right, because a friend of mine at school had a stroke at 40, and she was really fit, had no symptoms at all. And it took her, and she's still actually not 100%, but it affected her speech. It took years for that to come back. And also it's frustrating because her brain, she knows exactly what's going on, but people treated her differently as a result of that.
I know somebody else, and this is a very weird one, who had a stroke, who now the words that he says are not the words that they are. So he actually speaks as it is rubbish, even though he's actually saying what he thinks, but it doesn't come out that way. That's weird. It's
very well known, actually. It's called aphasia. And actually, that's what Bruce Willis has got. So he has it. So that's why he stopped acting, because when he can't learn a script. And if he did, the words would be different that are coming out by the ones that he actually had learned.
Wow.
Yes.
The other thing too, like talking about acting, you've always been in this profession, is that people like Sharon Stone, who had a stroke, they talk about the fact that they felt that in Hollywood, you could tell people that you had maybe survived cancer and they'd call you a hero and you'd get employed. But if you said they would have a brain injury, they would see you as potential liability. So you wouldn't get the jobs. So again, it's like, you've got to educate people that they're still carrying on. You have an aneurysm, you could still act and be just as good.
What started you with the charity? What was the sort of the reason that you thought, I'm going to make the difference here?
Well, because of my mum, and because I really thought, basically, Harriet, I didn't want to dress up as a banana and do the marathon. I wanted to
I hear
simple as that. Yeah. So I thought I might as well do something fun. And I started at sort of 24 putting on these big parties called A Night with Nick. And I literally door-stopped people. I door-stopped Patsy Palmer, who lived around the corner from me. Jamie Oliver literally nearly ran me over in Tottenham Court Road. I'd read that his father had had a stroke. And I was like, you're coming to my party. And suddenly people came, and it became such a big event that, by the end of it, we had people like Kylie and Robbie Williams. Debbie Arnold was always there. And then
I'll keep her away. I know.
I'll give you
away from Robbie. And then I decided 6 years ago to set it up as its own foundation, because I felt that actually I wanted to really talk to younger people and get them engaged. And so I've joined partnership with young stroke survivors, but also Alexandra Burke, the singer, her mum passed away from a stroke. So we do an event every year where we raise money and awareness. And I also do a t-shirt collection, which is sort of empowering words like warrior and survivor, but they are for people who've had stroke, but also for anyone to wear, because I believe that fashion is a really good way of educating people. So if you buy them a t-shirt for the charity, they might say, well, who's this for? And they go, well, your nan had a stroke or your friend had a stroke, and you're looking good, but you're doing good at the same time.
Yeah, Chris Fountain just had a stroke as well. So he's a very, very old friend of ours, because he was with my daughter in Hollyoaks, played her boyfriend for years. And it was so shocking to my daughter's generation. I think it's the first person that's happened to.
Exactly. So, and it's good for him to talk about it. And it's been really interesting to see how people have sort of received it, before, maybe 5-10 years ago, people would really be kind of quite hush-hush about it, but for him to talk publicly has been a really beneficial thing.
Yeah, and I think because he's very good, he's very charismatic, and that is still there, even though he said he's still not right, obviously. But and it's funny as well with stroke, because Neil, my ex-partner, he looks like he should be okay, and his face has come back, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's a, you know, he's just not. There's something different. And even though I can't really put my finger on what it is, I know he can't walk properly and everything else. But the thing about the Emmerdale thing was the way he walked in that is exactly how Neil walks.
Really? Wow.
So he's obviously really worked very hard on his research.
Yeah, I think he has. And one of the charities that we work with is called Interact Stroke, which is a fantastic one where they send actors who aren't working at the time to go into stroke units, and they just read to stroke survivors and help with their sort of cognitive brains, help articulate, maybe read them a poem and then get them to read it back. But because they're actors, they can really give them much more that maybe a family member could. So that's a great charity. And you know, you forget how many people are there to support stroke survivors.
I think the thing is not to go into the NHS because, you know, they were absolutely brilliant with Neil, and they are brilliant. But I think the problem that you have then when you have a survivor like him who's in hospital for 12 weeks with no swallow and anything else, he was put into a geriatric ward. And I think that doesn't help a stroke survivor because he's with all these people with Alzheimer's who are all screaming all night. And that one of the most important things, as you know, with the stroke survivor is sleep. They have to sleep a lot because even if they sit up, they're exhausted because the brain is finding new pathways.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the Amelia Clark's charity is called Same You, which is a great word because you're still the same you as you were before. But one of the things that they're doing, their big fundraising at the moment, is to actually create a stroke center, which would have people like Neil going into it and actually give them all that support, so they're not around people with degenerative diseases, etc. And also the other thing too is that we forget that the rehabilitation that the government or the NHS gives is only for like 6 or 7 weeks after they come out of hospital, and this rehabilitation has to happen really for the rest of their lives. And also people who've had stroke, I've got a few young friends who've had them, and now they're dealing with the psychological issue of fear that they might have one again. So they can't really live their complete life in case they are going to have one again. So it's a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
Well,
so what next for you, darling? What next?
What next? A bit of sleep. Sorting out for when you guys come to Ibiza. I am working on a few projects. One which is about actually adoption, which I'm doing with the presenter Pandora, because I've been on a adoption journey myself, and I'm adopted. And I found during lockdown, I kind of found out of my whole new family, which has been amazing. So I've lost one mother, but I've now gained a new one, which is amazing. And so I'm looking at doing this podcast, which is really sort of, again, to show people the amazing stories that you get from adoption and fostering, but also talking about how difficult it is and paying it forward too for young people to understand that there are other options out there, and there are a lot of children who need good homes.
Oh, how wonderful.
Amazing. That's so moving. Thank you
honestly,
so much.
Nick, please come back and see us again. But we are going to come to you. We're coming to
you. Definitely, girls. Next time we'll all be in Ibiza.
Hey, we're going to Ibiza.
Please, I'll bring security for Debbie. Don't worry.
And we'll get Dee all dressed up. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you, darling. Can't wait.
Thank you very much.
Lots of
Bye,
love.
darling. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Oh,
An amazing man.
Wow.
Love him.
Inspirational, and his morality for helping people on so many different levels is just fantastic.
And the most important thing is taking us to Ibiza, and he said it live on our show.
He did.
No escape.
Told him to that.
Can't get out of it. Can't get out of it. Sorry, Nick. We're coming. Right, girls.
He's fabulous. I love him.
Hopefully, Dee, your eye will be better soon.
Yes,
I doubt it.
But
I think it's an affectation. I think it's attention seeking, Debbie. I've realised that now. There's nothing wrong with her eyes at all.
Oh, darling. Yeah. Takes one to know one, darling.
But have a good gig, Dee.
Thank you. I can't
You'll be able
wait.
to hear all about it next time.
Yes,
I
we
know.
will.
Yes, you
Bye,
will.
darling.
Bye.
Bye.
Darling.
Bye.